Hey everybody, welcome to Moment of Clarity. How you doing out there? Hope all is well. Hope you're hanging in there. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for being here. Please take a minute to share this. And actually, most importantly, I haven't really been talking about this much. Please join the free email list. You can text the word, in America, you can text the word redacted to 33777. But anyway, I got a great guest for you today. I'm sorry I've been a bit lax at the live streams. They have not been every single weekday, except sometimes. There's been a little more, except sometimes. For today, I have a great guest, and I've known him for many years now. An activist, a thinker, a radio show host. He does it all, and he also walked across America. So I guess that makes him also a walker. Why don't I bring in Ed Fallon? What's up?
Hey. Hello, Lee.
How you doing, man? How you been?
I've been good. I've been working hard, and I'm just looking forward to, quote, normal times again. What does that mean, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, normal times were not going very well.
I know. I know. But it'll be nice to have a little bit more capacity to see my local small business friends survive. Very true. Very true. I would like to see that as well. I would like to see people not struggling anymore.
So it's not your only issue, but you've been very active in fighting to get attention for climate change, action on climate change in so many ways. You walked across the United States, which sounds like it takes at least a couple days.
Yeah, you can do it if you run really fast. You could do it in a few weeks, I suppose. But it took us 8 months, and
8 months.
It was no walk in the park. I tell you that. It was about 15 miles a day, losing 24 pounds. In my case, there were some people who lost as much as 40 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I know that does quite a number on your feet and your bones and everything.
Your head too. It makes you. We had something that one of our marchers called "March Your Mush Mind." You just kind of start losing focus, and you have your moment. You have your moment of clarity, right? We had our constant moments of lack of clarity on the march. After some point, it just kind of all falls apart. It's
funny because I feel like I have the reverse problem where, because I'm not like out in nature, I'm like got screens all around me and all this shit grabbing your attention. I get frazzled because of that. But you're saying this is the reverse.
Yeah, I mean, it's not being out in nature wasn't the problem. It was just the physical exhaustion of walking day after day after day. And, some people who walk across the country have the benefit of not necessarily having a schedule. I mean, we had to be in Denver for a rally, Des Moines for a rally, Lincoln. We had to be in all these places on certain dates and times. And so, you didn't have the option of saying, okay, I'm just going to, take a couple of days off. You had to keep walking. And sometimes it really sucked.
I know well, maybe I should show the trailer first?
Yeah, and then you want me to tell a little bit about it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, so it's a.
Sorry, I'll be right back.
There was a documentary crew with us the whole way, and this is an amazing crew. Joe Gantz is the producer of Taxi Cab Confessions. You've probably taken the taxi cab.
I chatted with him in LA once. I don't know him at all, but he invited me to a meeting in LA once.
Good. Yeah, so he did Taxi Cab Confessions. He did American Winter, which is about systemic poverty in the U.S. He did Ending Disease, about stem cell research. And they started filming the march. Actually, they got in touch with me in 2013, and then they embedded on the march in March of 2014 and went the whole way with us. And so, I props to them for like sticking it out too. But in the end, because there's so much other crazy good stuff happening on climate action, we're one of about 5 different vignettes that are featured. The other activists include kayaktivists blocking a Shell oil rig. There's the young people involved in the Our Children's Future lawsuit. They're profiled. So are the valve turners, the 5 people who went out there and
I covered their stuff a lot. They turned off the oil valves. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of really, really cool people and actions that are profiled in the film.
Okay, well let's watch the trailer. It's only 2 minutes long. I feel like people will enjoy it, so we'll do that and then we'll come back. Here we go.
These are ordinary people that haven't been arrested before. None of us had been arrested before. I did then end up saying to my husband and my daughter that I might be in jail. For a mother to go to jail, that is what it's going to take to make a difference.
I got to shut off 590,000 barrels of tar sands filled with toxic chemicals. I knew that when I cut that chain and I opened that fence, that I was crossing a threshold that I couldn't uncross. That I had made a choice to go into another part of my life and that I wasn't going to be able to step back from that.
There's enormous pressure on us because we cannot lose this case.
I have one last stab at this, and I am gonna try and take it with all my might.
There's this moment when you have to step out of this threshold of your own comfort and take a risk. They bring this beast, this monster, into the beautiful Salish Sea, and we get to fight it with kayaks. And all of a sudden, we had this incredible battle where we were winning because we were winning the moral fight. The whole world was cheering for us. Once you join the battle, you're in the battle. You know, then you're in.
It looks excellent, Ed.
It really is. I mean, part of Joe's take on it is, people are bombarded with information about how bad the climate crisis is, how things are getting worse, glaciers are melting, derechos are coming to the heartland, you name it, and it's kind of overwhelming, depressing. And this is an idea of what you can do. We can actually do things. People can take action. And this isn't about political action, which in my world is just as important as direct action. And to me, you got to use, especially when you've got a crisis like this, you got to use all your tools. You don't just leave your
all the tools,
all the tools, including live streaming and podcasts, right? You use it all. And Joe's perspective here is that we've got to show that people are doing stuff, that they're putting their lives on the line, they're taking risks, and they're getting stuff done. And I think that's I think it's a timely message, and hopefully it will resonate.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like a great film and very, optimistic, because you have to appreciate the small wins in a larger battle. You guys making it across the country is a massive win in a far larger battle. The attention that you were able to get to that, and for people to see what you were willing to sacrifice. I mean, 8 months of your life. That's truly incredible. And you had people. I imagine the numbers were different depending on which part of the country, but you had a bunch of people, of varying numbers of people.
Yeah, well, we had 1,500 people show up at the rally in Los Angeles, actually at the Waterfront Park in Wilmington. And then about 100 people marched the whole way that day. And I was pretty sure it was going to be the worst day of the march. It rained. It had been a drought in LA for a long time. And we got 10 inches of rain that day. We had crazy thunderstorms. Actually, there's some footage from the film of the march walking through this thunderstorm, or the series of thunderstorms, with water coming up to our calves, ankles. I mean, it was crazy. There were people getting hypothermia in LA. That doesn't happen too often, but it happened that day. And so the fact that we finished that day with 100 people was pretty cool. And then we had about 50 for the rest of the week. And then we got to the desert. There's nothing like a desert to drop your numbers, right? So at some point in the desert, we had we were down to about 25 people. And then once we got through that in the mountains, we started picking up again. After Chicago, we had maybe 60, 65 people. So. Yeah,
incredible. And someone was asking if you're from Iowa. I've never heard you talk about Iowa. Are you from Iowa?
I am from Iowa. Everybody wants to be from Iowa, but only some of us get to have that calling, I guess.
I'm of course kidding. You're always talking about Iowa, but someone needs to.
Well, someone needs to put a favorable spin on Iowa because lately, gosh, it's not. We're not the kind of balanced and diverse, politically diverse state we used to be. It's as solid red as Alabama anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the authorities are. Well, Iowa made me think of this because I know in Iowa they've tried to do all this ag gag stuff as well. The authorities have, they're making protest more illegal. They're making filming, factory farming more illegal. They're
voting is more illegal.
Voting is more illegal. Some of the people seen in that trailer were facing long jail sentences. The ones that shut off the pipes, they try and prosecute them under terrorism charges, as if clearly shutting off pipes while you make it very clear why you're doing it and what you're doing it for has anything to do with terrorism. So yeah, did you guys have you? Well, I know you've been arrested many times. Have you faced anything recently?
Not recently, not since the presidential campaign. Yeah. So, but yeah, these anti-protest laws are certainly putting a damper on people's willingness to take a risk. Michael Foster, the valve turner in that film, he got like 6 months. That was before these anti-First Amendment, let's call it what they are, anti-First Amendment laws started, being passed at the state level. So I don't know how he would have fared nowadays, or I don't know how Abby Brockway, the woman who climbed the tripod blocking the
tripod, yeah.
Yeah, tripod. What's that? That's a new thing, a tripod. I don't know.
That's when you have 3 iPads going at once.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's like, if somebody could market that, Lee, but it's not going to be me. Probably not you. But you saw toward the end of the trailer, those are 4 of our marchers who were being arrested for civil disobedience. Well, 3 of them. Miriam, the one who's featured in the film, one of the 4 we featured in the film, she didn't do civil disobedience on the march, but afterwards she's been arrested several times for various actions, usually in opposition to the Dakota Access Pipeline. But one reason legislatures are passing these laws, these anti-protest laws, is because we're having an impact. We're having an impact, and they try to stop it. So they work with their lackeys in Congress to do so, and in the legislatures.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible to see the impact that just a few people can have, and how furious the corporate state will get, and the efforts they'll go to try and stop just a few people. I don't know if Extinction Rebellion's in the film, but they've also been very active recently in the UK and some in the US, but breaking the windows of banks and things like that. And again, they make it very clear why they're doing these actions. I mean, we can't continue down this path. We can't continue destroying the planet in this way. And the stuff that has the largest impact is something that usually interrupts business as usual.
Yeah. No, Extinction Rebellion is not involved in the film, probably because they kind of came on the scene after Joe had pretty much wrapped it up. But I know that Extinction is involved in promoting the film in the UK. So, there's and again, I know they're not as strong in the US as they are in the UK, but what they're doing is really important. And for myself, I'll make it clear too. I think civil disobedience, direct action, protest, marching is all really, really important. But in the end, it has to come down to somehow persuading or just pressuring, elected leaders to do the right thing. It's somehow at some point that has to happen.
Yeah, well, that can end up happening because corporate America realizes it's that their days are numbered, I guess.
No. Yeah, I mean that's a good point, because we're kind of seeing that when it comes to climate change. I mean, here you got 55 big corporations, including Google and Apple and even like Pacific Gas and Electric, calling on President Biden to take more aggressive action on the climate change, on the climate crisis.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that. I know I showed the moment back a couple of years ago or a year ago or whatever. I showed it on Redacted, where you went up to Biden and basically asked him about all the oil pipelines he and Obama have supported and put in, and basically supporting big oil at every turn, subsidizing them. And he seemed very agitated and just yelled at you to go vote for Trump.
Poked me.
Go vote for
he
Trump.
he didn't
Go
want
vote
me
for
to vote
Trump.
for Trump. He wanted me to vote for some other Democrat, but he didn't want me to vote for Trump. But then he took it back.
Well, at first he acted like you were a Trump supporter, as if someone who wants the end of fossil fuel and a future for the world must be a Trump supporter. But I wanted to ask, what you've seen of Biden so far, because many of these kind of mainstream media outlets, MSNBC, et cetera, want to act like, oh, he's the best climate president to ever have existed.
Well, he might be the best climate president. That bar is so low.
Yeah, it doesn't say much. Yeah,
but I honestly, he's, I was not a Biden fan. I'd say he was a second among the 19 candidates, Democratic candidates I met in Iowa. He was like second to last on my list, just above Amy Klobuchar.
You don't like war criminals, Ed? Come on, man.
I don't know. It depends on the war,
Okay.
But no, then, and I didn't. I thought Trump would beat him, actually. So I was wrong on that, and I also didn't think he would do.
Without a pandemic, Trump would have beat him.
Well, maybe the pandemic might have helped him, but I think he's doing better than I thought he would. Does that mean he's doing enough? No, but I'll take the small victory there that we get. He's more aggressive on this than I thought he would be. Would love to see him shut down the Dakota Access Pipeline. He said he would. We got it on record. We got recordings of it. So hopefully he'll do that as well. But you make people hungry enough for change, and they will celebrate breadcrumbs. For me, it's way too little. It needs to be much larger. I mean, even the Paris Climate Accords, it's like they big banks and oil companies were celebrating the Paris Climate Accords. To me, it didn't do anything. No, the goals aren't high enough, and the standards. The mechanisms for holding countries accountable aren't even there. No.
Yeah. So what are the big things you would like to see? What do you feel has to be first?
Well, again, shutting down existing pipelines, making sure there's no more oil or gas drilling on the ocean, in the Arctic, on federal, on public grounds. That's a huge start. But I think, we have to be this is the part where Biden's never going to come around. I'm sure we're going to agree on this, is that the whole system we have in place right now was designed to continue to expand, to continue to consume more. It wants to consume more, and to do that, it has to encourage us to consume more. And that's not, that's not life. That's not a good, healthy existence, and it's not compatible with the existence of our planet. The planet can't continue to see us continuing to consume more and more. It's not going to work. So at some point, we have to confront that reality. And I don't know. Biden may at some point do that if he's pushed. And that's why I think this film is so important. It's encouraging people to get out of their comfort zones and push as hard as possible in every way, shape, and form that they can imagine. The creativity of activists right now. What folks did at Standing Rock. What indigenous people are doing right now in British Columbia, all over the country, indigenous communities, minority communities that have been, shut out of the picture for a long time are really starting to take action and doing amazing things. And those just need to keep escalating and keep, cascading to the point where, the powers that be are going to have no choice but to begin to confront them. And again, I don't know what that looks like. It's possible that the whole thing just crumbles on its own, because that's going to happen at some point, because this is not a sustainable system. But ideally enough pressure is brought to bear where there's an exit strategy that preserves some semblance of civilization while we transition to an economic system that's more sustainable.
Yeah. So not consuming ourselves into the grave. Sounds like you're criticizing capitalism, Ed, which I don't think that's really allowed in our society right now. You're going against the religion of our world.
Oh, you corporate hacks are all alike. I can tell by the long hair that you're just a corporate hack.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, I think even Mitt Romney called it crony capitalism. That's what we got. We got crony capitalism, or corporate socialism, if you want to call it that. I think
socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the rest.
Right. Rugged survivalism. Yeah, I do think that there is, in my experience, in my understanding, there's something that I prefer. I like to call a true free market economy where you don't have you have strong antitrust laws to prevent monopolies and the consolidation of power within any sector, and you let people take their dream, their vision, their idea, and they do it. Whether if you want to be a farmer, great, you can go out and do it. You don't have to compete against corporate farms who are subsidized and enabled and have the protection of antitrust laws that are too weak and enfeeble. So maybe there's some approach there, some combination of a centralized, services for people that we all need: healthcare, education, environmental protections. Some of those we have, not healthcare, but we have I'd like to say we still have a decent public education system. They're trying to erode that too. But you got to have that in place, I think, no matter what system you have. But then there's got to be some provision to allow people to really do what they want to do, take their dream, make it a reality. And to me, that's
of course
what the economy should be.
I mean, for most people, you get outside of wage slavery and then they can actually follow their passion, which right now, the vast majority of Americans, but really most people in the world, spend a large percentage of their life in that wage slavery position, just trying to make sure that they can get by the next day. Mm-hmm. So there's no time to follow their passion. There's no space there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I know you're the interviewer, but let me ask a question.
Absolutely. We keep it casual here.
Andrew Yang likes to claim that his guaranteed basic income of $1,000 a month will free people to do that, to be able to take their passion and turn it into whatever kind of lifestyle that they see they want to form. And he's running for mayor of New York now.
Yes, there's some things that Andrew Yang says that I like. I like that he's talking about universal basic income. I'm not down with I'm not one of the Yang gang for a few reasons. One is because while I support universal basic income, I support it as a step to get beyond capitalism. Whereas I think he sees it as a step to continue capitalism, kind of a way to prop up a system that is failing, which is also why you see Zuckerberg and others supporting UBI. But just the fact that they support it does not mean I don't support it. It would help too many people almost immediately. Mm-hmm. It would have massive repercussions. You'd almost eliminate extreme poverty and homelessness overnight. And there'd be many great things about it. Yang also has he's already changed his stance in New York. It's no longer universal basic income. It's now universal basic income for a few people who make under this amount of money and have these stipulations. So it's no longer universal. So that's another problem. And then he's got some pretty awful stances on Israel and BDS and stuff. So a lot of problems with Yang, although I like the UBI part.
We didn't care for his stand on climate change here in Iowa. He was talking about geoengineering. One day he talked about, at a little cafe in a small town near here, we asked him about what to do about climate change, and he said it's issue A1. It's top of the list. It's a major crisis, but we may be too late. He said. Well, he may be right on that. But we're going to have to do things like pack dirt around glaciers to slow them from melting, which I think is insane. I mean, I don't know.
It sounds insane.
Yeah, we're going to take that dirt from Iowa. I mean, we need it to grow food. Bring it up to Greenland to stop a glacier from melting for a couple of weeks. I don't know. But we actually really liked Yang here because he embraced the, talk about creative forms of activism. One thing we did here in Iowa was the bold climate penguins. This was in response to, a couple things. One of them was the second largest colony of emperor penguins in the Antarctic collapsed. They died, and it was attributed to climate change down there. And so I
remember the penguins really seemed to frazzle Biden.
Yeah, well, they totally frazzled Biden, but Yang was not frazzled. He literally came up and hugs the penguins. Yang likes the penguins.
That's some good politicking right there. No longer hugging babies. Now you're hugging penguins.
If Yang wants the penguins to endorse him for mayor, I'm sure they could step up to the plate and do that.
I actually remember I did show his response during one of the debates to a climate change question because of how ridiculous it was. His response to a climate change question was, "It's time to move to higher ground."
Oh no, yeah, he
And-
said that in Iowa too.
And I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard on so many levels. One is you can't get to a higher ground from drought. Secondly, when the animals die, we die, and the insects. Third, the let's move somewhere better is reserved for rich people. That's a rich people answer.
Yeah. And fourth, you don't tell people living in a flat state like Iowa to move to higher ground. Come on. There's only so many options for that here, you know?
Yeah. So let's see. We got a few minutes left. What else you working on? What do you want people to know about?
Well, I think this again. I hope this film gets some really broad traction. It's a good opportunity for people to think deeply about how serious our situation is, but also not to do so in a hopeless way. To realize that there are people all across the country taking action. Marching is certainly one of them, but legal action is another. Protests that involve kayaks and tripods and penguins and who knows what else. So I think if people start realizing that we have a crisis, A, and B, we can do stuff about it, and C, we got to get creative about how we do it. I think that's a really important lesson to be taken from this film. And I hope people will, if people go to the Climate March link. Climate March is going to be screening this film from May 5th to May 15th.
What is the Climate March link?
I sent it to you by email.
I might be able to get it.
Yeah. It's if people go to the Climate March website, you'll find it there. And basically, if you buy your ticket, it's a $10 ticket. If you buy your ticket to see the film online through Climate March, we get $4 of every sale. So that'll allow us to become rich and powerful and compete with oil companies.
rich and powerful is how I always saw you.
That's right. That's me. Yeah. That's every activist, right?
All right. Let's see. I'm getting it here. You just have to fill the time. So talk about something.
Well, I'm going to tell you what we're really involved. You asked what else we're involved with. This isn't what you would call hardcore street activism, but my partner Kathy Burns and I, a couple of years ago, we formed a nonprofit called Birds and Bees Urban Farm. And you stay with us once, Lee. So next time you come back, you'll be impressed at the change.
I remember the chickens. You still have chickens, right?
We still have the chickens are the foundational members of Birds and Bees Urban Farm.
Oh, they founded it. Okay, good.
They basically founded it. Kathy took credit for it, but it was the chickens who founded it. And then along came the bees, and they kind of butted in too. But we have a very small plot here, a very small area. It's like 1/8 of an acre, but we grow about half the food we eat between the chickens, the eggs, the bees, honey, and all the vegetables. And then our goal is as a nonprofit is to teach people how to turn their yards into dinner. Now, I know maybe in New York they don't have yards. I don't know. But here, people still have some semblance of a green space they can grow food on, depending on what they got for sun and all that. So we've been trying to work with people to figure out how to turn their front yard, their backyard, the little strip in front of their sidewalk. You can grow food on all that. It just takes a lot of knowledge that used to be commonplace. It's now been forgotten. And so we've been involved in our town in Des Moines. We've helped establish a food security task force to work on figuring out how to grow more food in Des Moines, not just for populations and communities that have been struggling with food security for a long time, but the reality is everybody's going to be struggling with food security when climate change really starts kicking our butts. And so now is the time to prepare for that. Figuring out ways of growing food, ways of connecting with our neighbors, ways of building a greater sense of community so that we aren't fighting over scarce resources, but figuring out a way to help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. The community is so important. And honestly, that's the part that I've been most excited to see during this pandemic, while many people have been suffering, but the rise of mutual aid efforts and communities coming together has been great to see.
We have a cool mutual aid effort here in Des Moines too, so that's nice.
Okay, so I put the link in the comment section for the event where you said people can go and they can watch the film with you, and the $10 goes to a great cause. And then if they don't see the film there, they can go to theracetosavetheworld.com, correct?
Right.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, I hope the film does very well. Hope it gets a lot of attention.
Yeah, well, keep marching.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate you being here.
All right, bye-bye.
Right. All right, everybody. That was Ed Fallon. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for joining me here for Moment of Clarity. Please, everyone, if there's one important thing you can do, because we are incredibly suppressed. My videos are so suppressed. I mean, it's basically, you can tell something's suppressed when it just never grows. I mean, these videos, despite the fact that more and more people get into them, they never get past a few thousand views, which is, clear efforts at suppression, very different from what would have happened years ago. And so the number one way to follow me and find out about web exclusive stuff is to text the word redacted to 33777. That gets you signed up to our email list. It's all free, and we'll let you know about upcoming videos. And if you're outside the U.S., that only works in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., then join at Lee Camp, the website. You can join on the sidebar there. Again, all free. So please do that, and make sure I'm not in your spam filter, because that's the latest way they're suppressing us. Is actually Google will make sure that you don't actually see my emails. So please do that. Please make sure you're signed up for that. All right, guys. Thanks a lot, and keep fighting.